All apprentices and delivery staff must wear PPE at all times in an official workshop. Note that these practical examples are filmed in a teaching environment.
Now we need to move on to the next test, which is ZDB, followed by, later after that, we'll be doing the IPF. So that's the basically the ZS of the submain, called ZDB, and the perspective fault current. So IPF we refer to as perspective fault current in the past. You may know it better as that. Okay, so ZDB first then. First thing we need to do is prepare the board for the test. Now, with this test, it's important that you get a value of the worst case scenario. So what that means is we do need to disconnect this incoming main earth conductor. Now, this is clearly not a 16mm conductor that you might expect. Remember, this is just simulation. So that would normally be a 16mm conductor, and I'm sure it would be in your endpoint assessment. So I'll just need to disconnect that. So that's now, safely disconnected from there. Okay, this is why, again, it's really important that we keep that safe isolation on there now. This installation is not at all protected to earth because that's been removed. It's important you remember that. Okay, so now we're going to do our test, ZDB. First thing we need to do is to set our meter up, and so we're going to turn the first dial on this meter to reading Z impedance. As you can see, there's some other options on here. One allows you to record the maximum value of multiple tests, which might be useful in this case, and other options in there for testing. But we just need to keep this simple for now. I'm just going to record it on Z. It's a three-phase supply, so I'm going to be recording 3 separate readings, but we'll display these on here whilst we make our options. So that's on to Z now. So I need to turn this to LPE, matching the green, and it says there LPE. That's because we're testing the earth fault loop impedance. It's a line to earth test basically. So that's switched on to our LPE. Looking at the screen now, you can see that the meter is defaulted to what it calls a 3-low setting. That means it's a 3-lead test and it's going to do on a low test current. Now you can toggle through to too high and too low. Let me just go back to too high there for a moment. So too high means it just uses 2 leads and does a high current test. That is actually more accurate. However, in this instance, we have RCBOs further upstream of this installation, and they wouldn't permit a test of too high. They would disconnect the supply. So we need to select the 3-low option, which this meter defaults to as soon as you turn it on. 3 leads, 3 low. Okay, so we're disconnected. So with our 3 leads then, the earth lead obviously goes on to the disconnected earth, like that. Now the reason that earth is disconnected is to give us the worst case, and the reason it gives us the worst case is it's obviously been removed from all the parallel earth paths, so it's just purely relying on the conductor coming back. So that should give us a higher reading of impedance, which of course would be the worst case. So then we need to now test each phase L1, L2 and L3 to neutral and record results as we go. Again, no need to press the meter. The first thing it does is measures the voltage. It's found a voltage of 241 on there. Then it takes a little time to gently push out and find the impedance. Okay, so on L1 then, that's given us an impedance value of 0.37 ohms. So I'm just going to record that. So that was 0.37 ohms. And now we do the same again for L2. L2 to neutral. Again, the meter jumps into life, 241 volts. And this time now we've got a reading on L2 of 0.39 ohms. So we'll just record that. .39 ohms, and finally our L3 to neutral. And then we've got a value of 0.34 ohms. So 0.34 ohms. So now I've got my three values, but on the test paperwork you'll see that we only need to record one of the three values, and we would be selecting the worst case, and the worst case then would be the highest value of 0.39 ohms. So that's the one that we'll record on the paperwork. So let's get that recorded. Okay, so that's our ZDB safely recorded. That should not be confused with ZE, which is the same test but carried out at the origin of the installation. We'll explain that later when we take a closer look at the paperwork.